I'm Shay McIntyre, and today we're going to talk about the certification programs, two in particular. But first, we're going to start by doing an overview of what I call the certifications landscape. For those that are new to this whole certification area, I just think it's helpful for you to have a framework to help you to know where things fit together in this whole process. So we'll talk about DBE certification, and that is a certification that is managed by the North Carolina Department of Transportation. They normally would be here. I'm going to cover their part on today because they're all at an offsite. And then we're going to talk about the historically underutilized businesses certification, which is administered through the Department of Administration for the state of North Carolina. Right? So our certifications landscape, this is an opportunity for all that have come to join us on today. And again, thank you for being here. Just an opportunity for you to understand, again, certifications as a whole. Some of the terminology that you may hear associated with these business certifications: MBEs are minority business enterprises, WBEs, woman-owned business enterprises, SBEs, small business enterprises, and then sometimes the term small disadvantaged business is a term that you may hear in the federal contracting space. So now we're going to focus today at the ones that are in the state and local government part of this slide. But again, I want to put it in context for you overall. The statewide uniform certification is also synonymous with our historically underutilized businesses certification. So you may hear those terms used interchangeably. And again, we'll talk about, once we do this overview, of course, we'll go into the specifics in terms of what the criteria are associated with each of those. The DBE acronym is one that you may hear used in two different contexts. Within our hub certification process, it is a disabled business owner, and that's going to be a very limited set of businesses that would even qualify for that particular type of certification. The more widely recognized usage of that DBE certification term is a disadvantaged business enterprise. That certification is managed by the North Carolina Department of Transportation's Office for Civil Rights. And excuse me. And so even though that certification for DBEs across the states is the same process, however, it's managed state by state. The other term that, again, you may hear, MWBE programs. And so I've kind of given you what that covers. Now let's look for just a few minutes at the federal government level of contracting and certifications. There's an 8A business development program. And at this point, all of the ones that are listed under that federal government part of the slide, they're all administered by the Small Business Administration. So you got an 8A business development program. There's a program called Hub Zone, not to be confused with our state hub certification process. The difference in those is that the federal Hub Zone program is based on the location of the business and the makeup of the employees within the business. The hub certification program at our state administration is based on the ownership, operation, and control of that particular business. And then there's a category, SDVOSB, Service Disabled Veteran-Owned Small Business, that also is managed now by the Small Business Administration. Now, again, that's not the full list of all the certifications. I've just tried to pull those that are more relevant for what we're talking about in the context today. All of those on the left-hand side of the screen, there's not going to be a fee associated with those. You just need to be willing to go through the process in order to complete the application for certification. The ones that are listed on that right-hand side of the screen, those national organizations, those are a couple of the major ones that exist at a national level, and there is going to be a fee associated with those. So two of the primary ones, you've got the WBENC, Women's Business Enterprise National Council, and then there's also the NMSDC, the National Minority Supplier Development Council, and they do tend to have regional organizations. And give me 1 minute, because what I want to do is to make sure that I've got the chat box on the screen. Let's see, so that I can see any questions that you may have. So as we go through the presentation, please do feel free to drop any questions that you may have into the chat. And then hopefully we'll also have some time that if you want to, raise your hand and ask a question, that we would be able to do that as well. Okay. All righty. So I am getting back now to my presentation screen, and we're going to go on now to talk about the DBE, the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Certification that's managed through the Department of Transportation. Kimberly Pelham-Fennell is actually the DBE program manager, and you'll see contact information for some of the resources there once we wrap up this particular section of the presentation. So when it comes to objectives of the DBE program, the primary thing is really to help ensure that there's not discrimination in the transportation contracting. So it helps to create a playing level field where DBEs can really compete fairly for DOT-assisted contracts. So ultimately, it's really a tool that can help your business grow. It generally is going to be most applicable for businesses that are already doing a strong foundation of business, and you're simply looking to add another layer of business revenue into your business model. The North Carolina Unified Certification Program is basically the process, kind of the overall thing that is used to administer and monitor this DBE program. So it's a standardized application process. There is also, in this particular space, you may also hear the term ACDBE. That is specifically Airport Concessions Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program. And so for that particular one, if that's an area that you're really interested in, is being a vendor at the airports, then the ACDBE certification is what you would use to do that. It is, though, part of the overall DBE certification process. So there's also a database, and it's called the NCDOT Directory of Firms, and your information would be posted there if, in fact, you're certified to do business with Department of Transportation. This is just a summary of the regulations. It's called the United Code of Federal Regulations, CFR, and that just gives you kind of the background for how the programs came into existence. So I'm not going to spend time going through the details there. You'll get a copy of the slides for this presentation. And if you have any additional questions or anything, you'll have, of course, the reference information here. The basic eligibility criteria for the DBE certification, the business must be a for-profit. It needs to be able to meet the criteria associated with being socially and economically disadvantaged. There's something called the small business size limits that are utilized. Those tie in with the Small Business Administration. There's a whole list of those, businesses that are classified, and what they call the size limit is going to vary based on the particular industry that exists. So there's a whole table associated with that is a part of the validation process. 51% or more ownership is required, along with, again, independence, operations, and managerial control of the business. Now, this is the criteria for social disadvantage. If your business falls into any of these particular categories that are listed on the screen. So there's some race-based things here. It also includes woman-owned businesses. So based on gender also. Any of those categories, if your business fits there, would be considered socially disadvantaged. The economic disadvantage component of the eligibility criteria is based on this personal net worth, kind of the what would I call it? The evaluation or assessment. And it does that value was recently raised earlier this year, I think in 2024, could have been end of last year, but that was raised to $2.047 million. And the way that they, in essence, arrive at that number, it excludes any equity in your primary residence. They're not going to count that. It excludes any ownership interest in an applicant business. It does now exclude retirement assets. So again, the person must be socially and economically disadvantaged to participate. The small business size standards, as I mentioned, this is linking to the SBA standards around how businesses are defined. There's a whole table that deals with them based on the industry sector. That coding system is called the NAICS, the North American Industry Classification System. And the way that the DBE assessment works is that your average gross receipts over the previous 5 years cannot exceed this number. Okay. And again, ACDBA standards are going to be different. That number is going to be much, much higher. We won't go into specific details here. Again, if you're interested in that particular one, then we'll put you in contact with an appropriate person to help guide you through the process. So again, ownership and control are also key elements of being able to determine eligibility for a business to be considered a DBE. So the firm must be at least 51% or more owned and operated by socially and economically disadvantaged individuals. And it has to be real. In other words, it can't just exist on paper, but there has to be really active participation. And these are some of the things that are guided by the control, to help determine, is the business really controlled by that 51% or more? That business has to be independent. So that's one of the reasons why it's difficult for franchises, for example, to be certified. It's not, it may not be absolutely excluded, but there has to be a clear clause that the control rests within that particular business, and they're not dependent on an outside entity or organization in order to help determine that, right? So control also can be determined by just the overall understanding that a person has of that business, what they do to manage that business on a day-to-day basis, right? So those are some of the things that come into play for control. So if you meet the criteria and you want to apply for certification as a DBE, there is an online certification portal. So you will go to that and it will step you through the overall process for applying to be a DBE. If you Google even just NCDOT Connect, that is going to get you to that website. And additionally, you'll have the information in the slides that we send to you. So this is just the overview of the process for what you would need to do. So you'll go to connect.ncdot. There are some, there, excuse me, there are going to be some menus for you to navigate through. So you're going to see the doing business. Then there's going to be an option for small business. And then you'll see the link to be able to apply as a DBE. So two things that you'll do: you'll register as an individual with the state of North Carolina. That's called the NCID process. And then you're going to complete the EBS access request form that in essence gets you directly to the system that is utilized to manage the DBE process. So you'll get a confirmation email. And then, with that, of course, you'll go into the system and establish your credentials for being able to utilize that system. If you need any technical support in going through that process, then there's an email address and or phone number for you to be able to get assistance. Now, as an alternate process, the DBE certification also provides for a paper application if for some reason, in some cases, there may be rural areas. We know this, that in parts of North Carolina, there are rural areas and they may not have any direct access to the internet or may not be able to use certain systems because of the lack of access. So there is a paper process that if you absolutely can't get to a computer, then there is some assistance in the process for you. Do keep in mind, though, there are also, if you're having difficulty from your home getting assistance, there are a lot of times small business centers. There are some different, business support services that you may be able to go to and then get some assistance on a local basis. And if you don't know of those, then we can help direct you to some of those resources also. Right. So this is just a high level overview of the certification process. So the application, once it's submitted, is reviewed for completeness. If it is complete, then it gets forwarded over to a certification officer. There is a site visit that's scheduled, and then it can be conducted virtually and or at the site of business. Now, there may be some updates to this particular one. And I've heard, I think I heard somewhere along the line that that may need to be a physical site visit. And so I'm going to make note to get clarification on that particular one. But however that site visit is conducted, then ultimately a certification decision is reached, and then the firm is notified of what that determination is. If the firm is certified, then their information goes into the DBE directory of firms, and that's a place where you kind of identify some of the key trades maybe that your business is associated with. In addition to, of course, the codes, the NAICS codes that also apply for your business. That's just a way of helping people that are looking for your services to really be able to mine for the businesses that are most likely to be able to meet the needs that they have in terms of, products and or services. Okay. If the certification is denied, then the firm does have a right to appeal that decision directly to USDOT. The certification team has 90 days to render an eligibility decision after a complete application is received, right? And so therefore, they just kind of tell you, estimate 120 days for the process, right? So post DBE certification, of course, you'll need to keep your information up to date. If for any reason criteria changes associated with your business's eligibility to be certified, then you'll need to notify the office in writing. And so, of course, a lot of that's electronically these days you'll have, but you'll have the details for any of that included in the information that you receive when you are certified. And then this is an annual certification. So each year, then you'll have to verify that, yes, all this information that I provided about my business really is still accurate, and you'll be able to be recertified as a part of that process. Right, benefits of certification. Of course, free marketing in the directory of firms. Your information is posted there. Again, that's going to be the portal where firms that are looking to do business with DBE firms have the ability then to find the firms that meet their criteria. There is also a business kind of technical support services type group. It's called BOWD, the Business Opportunity and Workforce Development Services. So that is a program within or linked to, maybe I should say, linked to that DBE certification process, that then if you are part of the BOWD program, then it allows you to get some additional assistance with your firm. There's also contract protection that DOT offers to help ensure that, that firms are getting paid promptly in the process. And then if you become DBE certified and you've not yet been Hub certified through the Office for Historically Underutilized Businesses, there's what we call Hub reciprocity. And what that simply means is, if you've already completed DBE certification, then to become Hub certified, you don't have to produce as much of the paperwork in order to help us do the evaluation of your certification application. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that. The process does not work in reverse. If you're Hub certified, there's not a reciprocity back to DBE certification. It just works in one direction. Okay. All right. The resources for DBE certification, really the best route is to use that email address, kind of that service account. It kind of gets guided, and then they're able to help ensure that questions and things are answered as a part of their ongoing process. But then there are also, resources that cover particular different areas. So with that team, of course, they will help ensure that your needs are met as it relates to the certification process. Now, again, remember that there's a technology component in there. And so if you're needing help with like getting access to the system, uploading documents or any of those kinds of things, that's going to go through that EBS help desk and not directly to this team. Okay. All right. So let's take a few minutes here for questions. And I am going back to the chat to see if there are questions that have come through the chat. Okay, let's see. All right, so for these certifications, is there a certain amount of years you need to be established, or are newer businesses eligible? Let's see, there's not an absolute minimum in terms of the period of time that you have to be established. So now, what I will do, I do want to verify that one though for the DBE certification. For Hub certification, that is not the case. But do keep in mind that the certification process is different than like being able to demonstrate past performance, right? So if you are a startup business, you may be able to become eligible for certification. However, when it comes to being able to be a strong candidate to actually do work on a particular solicitation, then there may be some additional things that do require you to have been in business for a particular period of time. Okay. All right. When going through this process, there were some items that were NA to my business. However, it was not apparent how to submit application without these items that don't apply. Added comments to reflect NA, but tools still showed as incomplete data. Welcome guidance on this. So on that particular one, I'm going to suggest that you use that DBE opportunity email at ncdot.gov and direct your question there, and just see the you should be able to get an answer there. That one is one where the certification team will help address whatever that, that issue and or the expectation is regarding those particular items. Okay. All right. I see Jamie typing. Jamie, if you want to come off mute and just ask your question, that is okay too.
Yeah, sure will. Just to follow up on that, in the application process, there were requirements for letters of recommendation. Can you speak to that, the objective of that, and what those typically entail?
I'm sorry, ask that question again. There was some.
The process was requesting letters of recommendation.
Oh, okay, letters of recommendation.
Mm-hmm. And I wonder if you're familiar with that, if you're able to speak to the objective for that and what those letters of recommendation should entail.
So primarily, the letters of recommendation are really just to help provide some additional input in terms of firms that you've done business with. So that's primarily what they're looking for. So, who it is that they've done business with, and just, a little bit about the work that has been a part of that scope of work tied to that particular reference that you're providing. Okay. All right. Any other questions before we move on to the next section? Okay. All righty. So I am going to go back to, let's see, going back to the presentation then, and we're gonna keep moving. Right. Okay. So now what we will do is talk about the historically underutilized businesses certification. And again, keep in mind that these different certification portals are going to direct you to different sets of opportunities, as it relates to, the work of those particular entities. And so what we do is, again, help you to navigate through these so that based on where your focus is, based on your particular goals and objectives for getting certifications, doing business, growing your business, all those things will help us guide you in the process. Okay. All right. So here we're going to cover some of the same types of information. We'll talk more specifically about the hub certification, what the process is in order to apply for certification. We'll take a little closer look at some of the required documentation, and then just want to make you aware of some of the other things that will support you as you become certified and are looking to, to really strengthen your business. So a little bit about the historically underutilized businesses office. The role is primarily to promote diversity and inclusion in state government procurement and contracting. So it's really about equitable participation, right? The ways that the hub office manages that is through the hub certification process. We also have a North Carolina Small Business Enterprise certification. The Department of Transportation has one of those as well. We also provide advocacy and business development services. So like the BOWD unit provides that through DOT, then that's a similar service that we provide through the Department of Administration. There's a compliance component, of course, which is just really understanding who is how the different agencies and organizations are doing as far as utilizing hub certified businesses in their procurement. And then we also operate the North Carolina Minority Business Development Agency Business Center, so the MBDA Business Center, and I'll give you a quick highlight of that. Eligibility To be a Hub certified firm is based on 51% or more ownership, operation, daily management, and control of the particular business. And the certification categories are listed here. So minority categories are Black, Hispanic, Asian American, American Indian. Then if your business doesn't fit there, it just kind of goes down the list. There's a female owned category. There's a disabled business owner category. The state of North Carolina does include disabled business owners. And then we also have what is called the ESOPs. This is a recent, I think it maybe came in the end of last year. So there is a new category of eligibility for employee stock ownership plan companies. And in that particular case, is based on 51% minority ownership of that business. Just a quick highlight about the Small Business Enterprise Program through Department of Administration. It primarily is based on 3 basic criteria. The firm does have to be a for-profit business. That's the same thing for the Hub certification and for DBE certification. It has to be headquartered here in the state of North Carolina. The firm has to have 1.5 million or less after the cost of goods sold is deducted in terms of income. And then the firm has to have 100 or less employees. And you can apply for this particular certification also through what's called the EVP portal, Electronic Vendor Portal System. I'll give you additional details on that as we go. Just quick overview of our NCMBDA Business Center. This is a particular program that resides within the Hub office. We're on a 5-year grant cycle for this particular program. And the funding was really established initially to focus on minority business enterprise firms. Some legislative changes have occurred. And so currently it is for socially and economically disadvantaged firms. We do look for more mature firms. I call kind of mature firms. The primary guideline that we have on this one is that our target market for this particular program is firms that have 500,000 or more in annual revenue. And I'll provide information for you if you would like additional information about this particular program. So this just gives you an idea of some of the things that the state of North Carolina does in fact buy. So think about it from a business perspective, anything that you need to operate your business, from the basics of just literally pens and paper, all the way up to any particular specific types of products and or services, excuse me, that are required in order to provide the services that you provide to the folks that you serve. So it runs, again, everything from, medical care. A lot of that is driven through the Department of Health and Human Services, cleaning and janitorial services, even veterinary services. And then examples of commodities. You got PPE, of course, that ramped up during COVID. We never heard of PPE before then. And then there's a whole list of potential things, furniture for the universities and other entities. So lots of things that could potentially come into play. Now, I get a question a lot of times of, hey, I don't know that the state buys what my business sells. And in that particular case, the best I can tell you is the Hub certification is probably still a good thing to do because of the fact that you get a lot of assistance, you get opportunities to network with other firms. And the reality is, just because the state hasn't purchased it thus far doesn't mean it won't. And we've certainly seen examples of that over the years, where things that the state had never purchased before, all of a sudden they are purchasing. So with that, then just an idea of really then who are the customers. So when we talk about the Hub certification, these are the places that utilize Hub certification. All of the executive state agencies, and I mentioned Department of Health and Human Services. We have other, Department of Public Instruction. So lots of different places that this could come in. We also have, of course, Community College Network, which is comprised currently of 58 community colleges across the state. There's 16 public universities, and there are a whole host of public and charter school systems. And then you may have opportunities at the municipality level, which is going to deal with, your counties, your cities, your towns. And it's because everybody's getting their own bucket of money in order to do things. So when it gets down to that level, then there may be additional opportunities that you will see at that municipality level also. To get started in the process, it's an online certification process. You can Google NC Hub and it will take you right to our webpage, and right there front and center, you'll be able to click to begin the certification process. It primarily is a 3-step process. So you're going to register in the electronic vendor portal. That is the portal that that North Carolina uses for all of the firms that desire to do business in the state of North Carolina. And so as a part of that, you will also register and apply for the certifications. So whether you want the Hub certification and or the NC Small Business Enterprise certification, you can do that all within the EVP portal. And then you'll upload the required documentation into the EVP system. Now, there are some resources to kind of help you get started in this process. The Purchase and Contracts Organization for the state of North Carolina has, so they in essence own the EVP system. There's training that's available out there, but there's also a help desk that if you have any problems on the front end, if you get into the system and you're having trouble doing a particular thing, there is a helpline that will assist you and help you work through those specifics. We also have what we call our certification guidance. That's just a way if you'd like to, just kind of get an understanding of what the process is, what's the kind of information that you're going to need to provide once you get into the EVP system. Those guidance documents will really help you with that. And then, as I say, if you need any specific assistance with going into the system, then there are all guides that will help you with that in addition to our helpline. This is what the front end of the EVP system looks like. So you'll see on the right-hand side of the screen is where you're going to sign in, do the registration, and go ahead and get your business set up. When you're applying for the Hub certification, you're either going to do it through what we call the statewide uniform certification application or reciprocity. We talked a little bit about that in going through the DOT, DBE certification. And so that's where if you already have a particular type of certification, then you can use that as kind of a shortcut in getting certified as a Hub firm. That is basically going to apply. This deals with the reciprocity certification options. So if you have a certification that's listed here that has already been granted, so through the Small Business Administration, if you have an 8A certification or woman-owned small business certification, or you were certified as SDVOSB, then those are all eligible for reciprocity in Hub, as long as you also meet what we call a neighboring state requirement on those. So the business has to either have been started here in North Carolina or exist in South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, or Virginia. Then those national certifications that I mentioned earlier, the NMSDC, the WeBank certifications, those also would allow you to apply for reciprocity. The EVP system, though, it's going to ask you the questions to help make sure that you select the one that best fits for your business. Right. So, of course, we know internet access to the system. You'll need to have your EIN number, whatever you use as your tax ID. Some have an EIN number. Some businesses may just use, literally your social security number, because some businesses are, they may be operating you may be operating as sole proprietor, and that's okay. It's really your choice as to which of those numbers you use. The key thing is this. When you register your information into the EVP system, make sure that your company name matches whatever is listed on your legal document. So if you're using an EIN, make sure that you put the information exactly into the EVP system, because there's a checkpoint on the front end. And so that's something that doesn't have to hang you up on the front end. Another thing that you'll do within the EVP system is to select commodity codes. You also have the opportunity to select construction codes. So there's a whole set of how to identify the services and or products that your business provides. And the reason that's beneficial is because the EVP system then will automatically send you notifications about different types of solicitations that have been entered into the EVP system. And they're going to utilize that information about how you describe your business to the system in order to determine, what those automated notices are that you will receive. Right. So again, you'll also have construction codes, contractor services codes, but the EVP system will step you through those different components in order to help make sure that you are signed up as you should be. Right. Okay. So this is just to give you an idea, and I'm not going to go through all of this in detail. It's all a part of the guidance documents that we provide for you. I'll just hit a few highlights in terms of what some of the required documents are. One is that we do need to see a bank, a statement listing names of all persons who have signature authority on your business bank account. So this is not asking literally for your monthly bank statement. We need to see the signature authority on your business bank account. So that's going to be something that you would specifically request from your particular lending institution to be able to provide. Copies of professional licenses, if they are required in order to operate your business. So for example, if you're, an HVAC or electrician, again, some of the ones where you have to be licensed in order to perform the work within your particular business. We also want to see signed lease agreements for office and or storage space. If you're a home-based business, that's perfectly okay. Just make a statement letting us know that you are a home-based business, and this is where you operate your business from. Okay. All right. There are going to be some things around, your proof of citizenship. We tried to list the things there that are going to assist you in kind of going through the process. One of the things that we do ask for is a schedule of salaries that are paid to all of the officers, managers, owners, or directors of the firm. And so that's really just to help us to understand who are the key folks that are being paid within that particular business. And to the question earlier, we also ask for 2 business letters of reference. So somebody that your firm has performed work for. And we also would like to have the contact information, right? Let's see, there are some things that are required based on your the structure of your particular business. So in addition to the things that were shown on the previous screen, if you are a corporation, then that's the list of things that we need to see. If the business has transferred hands at some point, we need to see all those different things. We want to see your corporate bylaws and any amendments that have been made along the way. If you're an LLC, then we also require your articles of organization and operating agreement. Partnerships, the partnership agreement, and again, franchise, the franchise agreement. If in fact you are eligible for certification, then of course you will receive a letter in the mail associated with that. Now, the Hub certification, whereas DBE certification, you renew annually. With the Hub certification, the renewal is every 4 years. And of course, if something changes within the business that would change your eligibility to participate in the program, then we need notification of that. If you got questions about it, we can help make the assessment associated with that. When you do recertify your business after those 4 years, then the list of what's needed at that point is a much shorter list. So again, you'll get automated notifications starting 60 days ahead of the time that your certification is up for renewal. Now, just a few resources for helping you to initially go through the certification process. I've already mentioned those guidance documents that are available. If you are needing some help with navigating through the EVP system, once you've gotten registered there, then there are some things to help you know how to navigate through. So if you're looking for solicitations, whether that be, bids or proposals, any of those formal things are what you're going to see there and available. So I mentioned you'll get some automated notices, but depending on the type of business that you have, let's say that you get registered, you do all of that in EVP, and you're not seeing any kind of solicitations coming through to your email, then what you may have to do is to go online to the EVP system, do some keyword searches, and sometimes you kind of have to back into what are some of the things that you'll need to use in order to describe your business so that you get the most relevant information for what you're looking for and the types of opportunities that you're seeking. Okay. You can also, of course, browse the solicitations. You can do that at any point, even before you start any of this process. You can go in, browse those solicitations, get some idea of what are some of those opportunities out there. And then you can begin to make the assessment within your business. Hey, is this something that I can take on now? Are there some additional things that I need to do in order to help position my company in order to be eligible and be reasonable candidates or candidates for some of those opportunities? We also have what's called our bid opportunities, actually solicitation opportunities. And in order to access those, you do need to go to the website and actually search those particular opportunities. So there's not an automated feed associated with this particular dashboard, but you will find opportunities there. You can filter them by the location, by the organization, by type of solicitation. If you're interested, for example, in some of the disaster recovery related things, then some of those opportunities are there as well. But depending on what trade area you're in, then we also will want to make sure that you are linked into the Department of Transportation Office of Civil Rights, because there are lots of efforts that have been in place. They've done a tremendous job of helping with the Western North Carolina disaster recovery efforts. We also provide some training opportunities. And so here are just some examples of the things that we do to help you to navigate state government contracting and or to just make connections and or do things that are going to help ultimately build your business or strengthen your business. Some of the examples we have here, we have a monthly, what we call our Purchasing 101. It's an orientation training. We actually have procurement professionals that come in. We primarily have two right now. One is from the Department of Administration. She is actually a contract administrator. She provides these training along with, we also have the procurement manager from the Department of Transportation. And so they just try to help you to understand how state government works when it comes to procurement. So that's about a 2.5 training that we do on a monthly basis. We also have one called I Have the Contract Now What? That is for businesses that have been awarded business with the state. And so that's an opportunity for you to really dig into what are some of the things that you can do, and you want to make sure process-wise are in place within your business so that once you're awarded a contract, then you can keep the contract. There are a number of different, again, trainings. I'm not going to go through the, the whole host of those. We even have coming up a couple of AI related things. Artificial intelligence is everywhere. And so we've done some things to kind of help you to understand how to integrate some of those things into your business. One of those sessions is focused on upgrading your social media using AI. We also have a number of networking events that we provide for firms. And again, it's an opportunity for you to meet other firms because that may be the place that you are looking to do business with other firms. So again, it just so much depends on what your goals and objectives are within your business. Strategies for how to meet those and how to make those things happen are going to vary. But we really just try to offer you a whole host of potential things that are going to assist in that process. Okay. And here is our contact information. If you're looking to get assistance with the certification process, there are a couple of email addresses there. We also have a main intake line where we can take questions based on your calls coming through. Again, if you need technical assistance with HUB certification, you're going to call the EVP help desk. And we provide that number there. If you're looking for additional information about our NC MBDA Business Center, then we provide the contact information for you to get additional information and connection to our MBDA Business Center, right? And with that, that's the end of our formal presentation. Well, thank you all so very much again, and do have a great rest of your day. We look forward to working with you.